guys, and welcome to Abundantly Minimal. My name is Sarah, and thank you so much for watching that montage of some of our footage from Krakow, Poland and Berlin, Germany. Now, obviously I am not in those places right now. I am loving right now. We are in Santorini, Greece, and the view is insane. I just want to show you. There will be more coming in the actual Greece vlog recap, but take a quick look. So this is our little Airbnb. It is one of the traditional cave style homes along the caldera, so that's really cool. It's very minimalist. I mean, it's definitely not lavish. I also wanted the traditional experience kind of, so not glamorous, but it's been pretty cool. But here's the view, check it out. I know that this is not a vlog about Santorini, but that's where I'm here when I'm filming this, and I just thought this porch was a really nice area to film, and I'm eager to talk about our travels there. Now, I will say overall, these two destinations, we spent a very short time, and we were spending 2 nights in each place. So really, I don't feel like I have a good enough understanding to really give that many travel tips, but I'll talk to our own experience as well as share some of the things we did. Now, originally, with these 2 destinations, they were actually not on the itinerary at all. We had done a lot of preliminary brainstorming because, like I think I mentioned in a past video, this was the first time my parents and sister had ever gone overseas. So I really wanted to make sure that we were planning destinations that they were excited about. And originally, neither of these destinations were on the list. There were 2 things that kind of changed that. The first, I had mentioned that Jake and I wanted to go to Poland, specifically Krakow, Poland, to visit Auschwitz, which I know this is not, a lighthearted topic. For me, going there has been on my wish list for a long time. The reason I actually got into wanting to be a social studies teacher was when I was first learning about that in middle school. And it was in 8th grade specifically. My teacher was phenomenal, and not only in general was the class very engaging, but also kind of learning more about that for the first time was just mind-blowing to me. And I felt like as a teacher, or it was my role to try to help inform others about what's going on, in hopes that then you can obviously prevent negative actions from taking place again and learn from the mistakes of others in the past. So anyway, long story short, I wanted to go there for a long time, and I had mentioned that to my family, and they were actually very interested in going. So we added Krakow, Poland to the list. Again, a very short time, with the intent of that being one of the key parts of our visit. Obviously in the montage you saw a lot of other cool things that we saw and did as well. And then in Berlin was actually not on the list either. I always wanted to go, but my sister actually, she's had a pen pal for 6 years now, I believe, and the pen pal is Maddie, is based out of the UK, but this past year she's been studying abroad in Germany, so in Berlin specifically. So we added that stop as well so she can meet her pen pal in person. As far as the logistics there then, we flew from Iceland to Poland, and it was a slower travel day because we couldn't get a direct flight, but we arrived there, and the first night was very relaxing. We got to our Airbnb, which was a beautiful place, very spacious. It was a lot of rooms for all of us to have kind of our own space, and also small kitchen, although food prices were very affordable just given the currency value. So that was, we definitely ate out to eat a lot more than we did in Iceland. And with the first night, we did get to explore the old town, which is a lot of the pictures you saw. We were staying pretty close by, but on a quiet residential street, so we were very close to it without having any of the noise or commotion. But it was so much fun to just walk around, lots of little shops. Not that I buy anything at the shops, but then looking at some of these beautiful buildings that we saw there was just gorgeous, especially when they were all lit up at night. So that was a really nice starting point. The next day, our full day that we spent in Krakow, we then did the tour to Auschwitz. Now, you can definitely go yourself. We did book, I guess, a tour of it. It was mostly to have the travel to and from there very convenient. The prices were pretty good. A lot of the trips and tours that are offered that are day trip kind of things often are around that $100 range, but these I believe were $33 each per person, which provided pickup, and then there's transport between the two sites, as well as then there was a guide there for you at the museum. I believe the guides though you can get even if you don't do a tour there and you just do the public transportation. But it was very eye-opening. There were a lot of different things that, even though I feel like I had studied the Holocaust a lot before, there were a lot of, I guess, misconceptions I realized I had. For example, we went to Auschwitz 1 and then Auschwitz 2, like Birkenau. And with those different sites, I had, I guess in my head, thought of Auschwitz all as one place, and there was the gate that prisoners would walk through, but then also I could picture like the train tracks, and so for sure those are two of the separate sites. So I kind of just understood that better. And then kind of even thinking about referring to concentration camps and death camps, like the differences between those, I had just really been talking about them as concentration camps, but really the concentration camps part was the working part, and that like labor camp kind of, and then death camp was like the majority of it, but that was the gas chambers. And you know, I mean, just really terrible things. And it was definitely very much an emotional day. Also, I learned more about the looting of things. They actually had all of the stuff that they collected from the Jews. I had heard about it a little bit, but they actually called them Canadas because Canada was seen as a place that was, you know, really ideal. And so when all of the stuff from the Jews and other different like political prisoners, etc., was collected, then others were able to take that stuff at these like Canadas, that's what they called them, Canadas, like warehouses. There were a lot of different parts that stuck with me. I mean, nothing really prepares you for when you're going there, and really at the actual site there, it felt really important to go, and I think there's a lot that I can pull from that for my teaching going forward. So I'm really happy we went. I kind of see it as something very similar. I went to Japan on a study abroad trip back in 2013, and we went to Hiroshima, and that was a place too where, I mean, different situation, but still both places of, you know, really traumatic, challenging past. And yeah, it's really powerful to me. And yeah, just kind of, I don't know, to go to like pay respects or just to learn more about it and understand it better. I mean, not that you can really understand what actually happened. So we first went through Auschwitz 1, which is much more like museum setup, and we have the guide there kind of taking us through all these different parts. The museum's very well done, and that's a much smaller area. And then after that was like the bulk of the tour, and then we spent, I think, then an hour at Auschwitz 2 Birkenau. That was built later, and it was built more with the purposes of being a much larger camp and more of a death camp. They had more like gas chamber setup, but a lot of it had been destroyed after, like, towards the end. The Nazis had destroyed it to try to like cover up the evidence. But just seeing the scale of it was really intense. Seeing the different buildings and seeing kind of how people who were then like working in the concentration camps, kind of what their situation was like, actually seeing it in person. So that was our visit there. Again, very powerful. And if you do ever find yourself in that area and it's something you'd be interested in checking out or learning more about, I would definitely recommend it. Again, not an easy thing to do. So that was the bulk of our visit there. When we did get back to Krakow, we were there a little bit earlier, so we had some time to walk around more and decided to then walk around the castle area there, Wawel Castle, and that was lovely. We did not actually go inside any of the rooms there, but there was so much there to see, and it was nice. It was very uncrowded and beautiful weather. A little rainy for a moment, but like the temperature was really nice. So that was what we did in the evening there. And then the next day, our flight was in the evening to go to Berlin, so we still had a lot of the day to explore. So we enjoyed wandering around more, not really having too much of a plan. As far as vegan options, there are so many options. We didn't get to them all, and a lot of different like Polish cuisine as well. The first night, since we got there very late, not a whole lot was open, but we did find this really yummy burger place. Originally it was just going to be Jake and I going, but then my family tagged along as well, so they had a variety of different vegan burgers, and they were delicious. Especially it was like 11 p.m. so we really didn't have too many options, but I was appreciative that it was open. And then our next day, we didn't really do anything for lunch, obviously, just because, you know, Auschwitz, like, you know, you don't really want to eat or drink, you know, just, I don't know, maybe that's a weird thing, but just kind of out of respect, like I didn't want to do any of that or make that about that. But for dinner, back in Krakow, we went to a yummy pizza place that did have a variety of pizza options, and it was something that worked well for everyone in the family, and they were lovely. It was kind of like the Blaze pizza chain we have in the US, but probably way better. And then the next day after that, we went to this place called Veganic, which I was really excited to go to. Again, my whole family joined, and we really treated ourselves. The beauty of the conversion made things very affordable. So we all got like green drinks or fresh juices. I had like a gazpacho soup, and then my main dish was like a potato gnocchi dish that was amazing. So yeah, definitely really yummy meals there. And then we were off to Berlin. Now with Berlin, again, very short visit. I would love to go back and spend so much more time there, just specifically from the history perspective. We also stayed at an Airbnb that was very nice, very central location, like a busier area, and only about like a 20 to 25 minute walk away from a lot of the big sites like the Brandenburg Gate. So that was pretty convenient. With our Berlin travel, since we got in fairly late at night, and then we also had to leave fairly early, you know, in 2 mornings, we really only had one big day, but we packed it. I think we ended up walking like 25,000 steps or something. It was a lot of walking. But we first started out, Jake and I went to a vegan donut shop, which, let me tell you, I feel like everything, every treat or every kind of food that you could want is very easy to veganize, at least in my own opinion, and you can get it at most places. The number one thing I have the hardest time finding are vegan donuts. To me, the closest ones are in downtown Chicago when we're at home, but there's not that many options, and I've had them, they're okay. To get like really good vegan donuts is a challenge. I can make them myself, but it's not the same. I don't really fry stuff. So anyway, there was this place called Bramable's Donuts in Berlin. They have 2 locations. We were able to walk to one in about a half hour, and the donuts were spectacular. So I think I ended up picking up 8 because I got some for others in my family as well, and they were legit. And then after that, we came back to the Airbnb we had. We grabbed like some real food for like a lunch kind of thing, and then we had a free walking tour. Now, if you haven't done free walking tours before, I highly recommend it, because not only is it a really easy and great way to see the city, but then also the setup of it is that you tip the guide whatever you feel like they deserve. And honestly, I feel like when I have paid tours that you have to book ahead of time versus the free tours, I feel like the guides are always so much better on the free tours. And then you're very happy to tip them generously, or I mean, usually Jake and I will do about like €10 or whatever the equivalent would be, $10, $12 for the guide each, because they do such an incredible job. And the Berlin tour was one of the best I've ever been on. Just blown away by all of the historical significance of every area. We were in some pretty major areas and saw a lot in that like 2.5 hour, 3 hour time frame. After that was done, Jake and we did separate a little bit from the group, and we toured the cathedral there in Berlin, which was stunning. We were able to kind of go up to the top, and it wasn't too crowded. Sometimes those places are extremely packed, but it was very uncrowded. We had a lot of space up there. Gorgeous views of the city. Hi guys, we just made it to the top of the cathedral in Berlin. It was 267 steps. Check out the view. We also were able to check out the Tiergarten and take a look at some of the pretty nature there. There was a lot going on with the World Cup as well, so there was definitely some more commotion around there, but kind of fun to be a part of that, even though I myself am not much of a sports fan in general, which you might have gathered since I never talk about it here on in these videos. We did try to go to an ancient history museum that they had, but unfortunately things were under construction. They might have still been open, but we could not find the entrance. We walked around the whole thing like twice and had no luck since certain entrances were closed, so we kind of gave up on that one. But overall, packed day, lovely day. The highlight was our meal for dinner. I casually was just looking up like restaurant things in Berlin, And somehow this was not something that we knew when we booked our Airbnb, but we were like 1 block away from this one restaurant called Cops or whatever. And I looked it up, and according to CNN, it was rated in the top 11 best vegan restaurants in the world. And so I was like, oh my gosh, we have to go. And we went, and it was stunning. I mean, a little bit more pricey than what Jake and I usually do, but the food was ridiculous. So we definitely enjoyed ourselves. Anyway, that was essentially our main Berlin day. I definitely hope I get to go back to Berlin because, again, I know that I didn't do it justice in just one day, but I wanted to share our experience nonetheless and hope that this was interesting. Thank you so much for watching. I will link some past travel related videos over here if you missed any of our past travel diaries. And you can also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.